Welcome to the Weigh In Podcast, where we discuss all things boxing. And today we've got a special review show following a dramatic fight night over in Texas featuring Canelo and Billy-Joe Saunders. I'm delighted to have a bumper panel today. It's quite full on. We've got the Rocky Roach there, living up in Thailand, currently sporting a little string vest. What have you got there, mate?
Gee, you know what, man? I did one of them YouTube workout videos. I was feeling myself, bro. So I thought I'd give you guys a treat. Now.
Top man. So we've got Steve. We've also got the Burnley Boy Abbas there, sporting a nice little shape up and a fresh trim, I think.
You're not wrong, get a nice little trim, get ready. Ramadan's ending, so, you got to freshen up a bit. Very happy with everything that happened over the weekend as well.
Brilliant stuff. Well, we've got Sugar Ray, who last week celebrated his 30th birthday. How's the back pain, bro?
Listen, man. Getting older is a blessing, but sometimes that recovery takes a bit longer, but it's all good anyway. If I shave off my beard, I'll shave off 5 years, so we're still looking good in the flesh.
Fantastic. We've also got Big Nige, who again also fronts the When Fists Fly YouTube channel. What's happening, Big Nige? How you living, bro?
All good, I'm all good, my brothers. How are we all doing today?
Everyone's well. Everyone's all good. And lastly, we've got a top sports talent manager who's also celebrating his team entering the Champions League final at the end of the month. My man, Ashanti.
Yeah, good day, everyone. Thanks as always for having me. Lovely to see everyone. Good to see Sour Ray as well. That's his new nickname. He keeps getting predictions wrong, so we're going to have to call him that 30-year-old.
Stop this. Too sweet to be sour. Too sweet to be sour. Let's get that correct.
Susie turned 30, it was Sour Ray, bro.
Let's kick off with all the action that took place in Texas over the weekend. A massive world title fight, of course, involving Canelo Alvarez and our own Billy-Joe Saunders. I guess this fight promised to be dramatic. It promised to be emotional. And I guess on this occasion, it's actually quite eye-catching, pardon the pun, following Billy-Joe Saunders' brutal, nasty eye injury.
Wow.
Steve, I guess you had the pleasure of watching it at a suitable time zone. So let's kick it off. I mean, look, it was a massive fight. It ended, in the unusual circumstances, but let's talk about the performance and also this nasty eye injury.
Yeah, well, like Billy Joe boxed well. I think we all kind of assumed he was kind of like going to come out and do something similar to what happened. I think the fight went pretty much exactly how people saw it going. Billy Joe fought well in spurts. He had his moments, but Canelo is a bit too much right now for anyone. I thought that Billy Joe, I think they were a bit naive in their game plan. I thought that he didn't pace the fight very well. I thought he used his feet a bit too much. He was relying on using his feet a bit too much, and it's not an amateur fight, bro. It's 12 rounds. You can't do that for 12 rounds. Do you know what I mean? Canelo didn't move his feet once. You know what I'm saying? And that's what will happen if you try and stay in flight like that for 12 rounds. It takes a special fighter. You've got to hold your feet at times, and he just didn't do it. He couldn't do it. He was outgunned in there. Really, physically, he was outgunned. When he boxed well, but ultimately, I said in round 2, I texted you where I said he's going to get stopped because the feet will slow eventually, and then he'll get pinned, and then he will lose everything. So that's what happened, bro.
And let's talk about this devastating uppercut that caused Billy-Joe Saunders that nasty eye injury. Nige, I know you were rooting for Billy-Joe Saunders. How devastating was that uppercut?
Rose, that uppercut was dirty. It was mad. I kind of think Canelo was looking for that counter uppercut throughout the fight. And it was kind of Billy-Joe Saunders' own downfall because he kept on slipping so low. So as he swung, Canelo just stepped back just a small tad and literally on his way up, caught him with a sweet uppercut. And that's all she wrote, really. There was nothing really from there on. Credit to Billy-Joe. He tried to continue the round. There was a minute and a half left. Credit to him, but the minute you saw the mark on the eye, it started closing straight away. So, yeah, man, I'm gutted, but the better man won.
Yeah, let's talk about this eye injury. Ashanti, I text you straight away. I was like, damn, that eye. I mean, I guess there's people there saying, "Oh, Billy-Joe Saunders quit." I'm not going to agree with that. In fact, I think that's very, very, very harsh. I guess, would you agree with me that that was the correct decision from Mark Tibbs to say enough is enough?
Controversy again from me. He did quit, but let me add the caveat of I don't disagree with it. He's a man of 30, 31. He's got 2 children and a wife. He couldn't win that fight against Canelo. Like I am only using the word quit in that he did make a decision not to continue. He can say the corner pulled him out, but if he really wanted to fight on, you would have heard, no, don't do this. I can go again. He knew he couldn't. He knew there was a big problem with his eye. I have absolutely no problem with it, but off the back of previous statements, I will go out on my shield, I would prefer to die. You cannot say that he didn't, in his mind, kind of allow the fight to be stopped, because I didn't see remonstration. I didn't see standing up on the stool. If anyone watched the undercard fight, did you watch Takayama? I think he got stopped, and Takayama was doing all sorts of moves and was looking to the crowd saying, "I'm fine, I shouldn't have been stopped." I did not see that from Billy-Joe. I saw him sat on his stool with his eyes closed thinking, yeah, it's that time. I really like seeing. I really want to see my wife one more time. So, it is what it is.
On a rare occasion, I am agreeing with Ashanti, especially regards to how a lot of boxers act with Dubois. And what I don't like is asking a lot, but a lot of people are not keeping the same energy, because the way people came down on Dubois, which I didn't like at the time as well, I need that same energy for people to come down on Billy-Joe, because Billy-Joe especially was one of those people coming out, like Ashanti saying, I'm going to go out on my shield. His body language showed me, listen, fight another day. And for me, there's nothing wrong with saying fight another day. But in regards to I'll call it even more of an old school boxing community, a lot of them got onto Dubois in a bad way. So guess what? I'm going to need that same energy for Billy-Joe. And I don't want it because he's your favorite guy that I've seen a lot of people have reworded it and acted certain ways. No, if you're going off of what Dubois done, which for me was the smart thing, he quit. But then furthermore onto that culture, I think it needs to stop, because things such as like eye injuries and such, forget your career, this can affect you for the rest of your life. And I remember at the time when they called, I believe, Vitaly Klitschko, they called him a quitter because he had a shoulder injury, and he just basically said, you know what, it's not worth it. No. And guess what? He went on to become a world champion. Other people then mentioned, oh, Danny Williams, look at him, he fought on with a left shoulder. What would you rather want to be known as? The world champion or the guy that fought with a bad shoulder? So, listen, Billy-Joe quit. There's nothing wrong with him quitting under such circumstances, but it is a quit.
100% agree, man. Like, boxing's full of mugs, man. Like, boxing fans are such mugs. Like, you go on, like, I swear down, man. You go on like Twitter and stuff, yeah, and it's like, oh, I like Billy-Joe, so he didn't quit. But Daniel Dubois, no, I don't like him, so he's a quitter, and it's different because blah blah blah. It's like, bruv, like Ray said, man, hold your energy, bruv. Like, do you know what I mean? Billy-Joe quit, like, do you know what I mean? And yeah, you can say what you want. Like, some people are saying he didn't quit. What did you want him to do? He would have lost his eye. But you still quit because your eye was hurt. Like, the two things are not mutually exclusive. Yeah. Also, like in boxing, like that sort of like elite level toughness, yeah, there's a special place held in the reverence of boxing history, boxing annals, whatever you want to call it, of those elite level tough guys. Yeah, you get to, once you prove it, you get to be there for the rest of your life. Like Michael Watson, yeah, he'll be forever revered. That's all he's got. He gets revered as a fucking tough motherfucker. Yeah, Billy-Joe said he had that without any receipts for having that. Yeah, and then he got asked for the receipts. He didn't have them. Sorry, bro, you quit. Like, there's no shame in it, but that's what we're talking about here. You ain't Michael Watson, bro. You ain't Nick Blackwell. You're Billy-Joe Saunders. There's no shame in it, but you're not elite level toughness.
I think what you guys are saying, 100%. Like, he quit because of the injury. Like, it's acceptable. That's not a problem. But until you get a Canelo punch to your eye and stuff like, you don't realize the power. There's a difference between, for me, a body shot compared to getting hit like that. And I don't think Billy-Joe had ever been hit or been in a position like that where it hits you like, wait a minute, this shot right now that I've received is not good enough for me. My only thing for Matt is do you, I don't say humble yourself, but do you change your persona a bit after you've now gone out as a quitter?
Damn, this is like the Berry Billy Joe show. But I'll let one of you guys.
Quitty-Joe Saunders, isn't it? Deep, man.
Listen, boxing, and he himself have brought this onto himself, to be fair. It's not like I said, people would have more sympathy. It wasn't for the fact that you went after Dubois after such a case. And my thing is with Billy Joe, a lot of the time when it comes to bad injuries like that, there's certain times when you can fight on. If you have knockout power and a good puncher's chance, that's where maybe you can take the risk. Billy Joe is not a knockout artist to be going out on his shield for how many more rounds? Was it 3 or 4? 3 or 4 more rounds. There was no need to risk your health. Unless you're like a Deontay Wilder where you've got a kill switch in your hand, then his corner done the right thing. Billy Joe done the right thing. It's just a matter of now of, is boxing now going to change their stance on people, quote unquote, dying on their shield in the ring? Because it's all nice and good when you're the talk of the town for a week, but 10 years on, like I said, would you rather be Klitschko, who they're going to remember as a world champion, or do you want to be Danny Williams, all credit to him, as the guy that fought him with a bad left shoulder and that was it? You do not want that to be a highlight of your career.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. Like 2 points on that. Like boxing needs brave fighters and cowardice corners, man. Like, do you know what I mean? That's what your corner's there for. And your corner should be handling that. And you should probably have like maybe a little sort of like code or something that your corner can get you out and you can do your thing. So that's like maybe on that. But also on that Deontay Wilder point, Deontay Wilder went out like a champ. Like Ashanti said, Deontay Wilder, he took his beating like a man. He stood up to it. He weren't going nowhere. Then man said, then the towel got thrown in. He's like, he's moaning, blah, blah. And then he comes out with these excuses, whatever. That same courage that kept him in there is the same energy that brought those excuses, because he's a champion and he just will not lose, that will to win. And then afterwards, he just could not accept losing, right? That's the champion's mentality. So Deontay Wilder's got, I would say Deontay Wilder's got it. Do you know what I mean? He tried to stick with it. So a lot of people laughed at him.
Taking in what all of you said, me personally, when it comes to injuries, life-threatening injuries, I don't call it quitting. I'll give you an example of quitters. O'Hara Davis against Josh Taylor, where you turn your back, where there's no injuries, but you've just given up. Roberto Duran against Sugar Ray Leonard in the second fight, there was nothing completely wrong with him. He just knew it's a long night for me. In terms of injuries where I'm going to be blind, I'm going to choose my health over pride. No one can't tell me at the end of the day that I quit, because at the end of the day, you live to fight another day. In circumstances where there's nothing completely wrong with you and you're just saying, do you know what? I'm not up for this, man. I didn't train hard for this. That's down to them. And that's what I classify as quitting. So everyone's got different opinions, but in terms of when it's injuries, if I'm not, when you say injuries, shoulders, eyes, those things are, okay, maybe shoulders I may be able to continue, but life-threatening with eyes where tomorrow I may be blind and I can't see, boy, I know which one I'm picking in it. So each to their own.
I heard that, and I'm going to bring in Ashanti next, but Nige, do you feel, I guess, since becoming a father, your outlook on injuries and what you mentioned has changed? 100%. Like, you could ask my missus, I was down to swim with anyone who looked at me different back in the day.
On site. Now,
man said on site.
On site is on site.
Now I got a little one. Yeah. I've got to reevaluate life. You know what I'm saying? I can't just go in thinking with my heart. I've got to think with my head, because at the end of the day, the last thing I wouldn't want, well, God forbid, it was my son to grow up with a dad in it. So I've got to think. Now, life is all about making the right decisions at the right time. So that's how I view it. Innit?
Can I just pull up Nigel on one use of language there? He said life-threatening. Going blind is a life-altering injury. He wasn't going to die from having his orbital bone broken. He was potentially going to be blinded. They are two separate things. There is no way he was going to die from that. He may have gone blind, which would be absolutely awful, but we do need to make that clear, because he did quit. You may say, I understand as a father, this, that, and the other. He was a father 6 months ago when he was telling Daniel Dubois he was a quitter. So how can Daniel Dubois be a quitter with a broken orbital bone but Billy-Joe Saunders isn't a quitter with a broken orbital bone. What was the difference? Actually, in a way, I would say that Daniel Dubois had more of a reason to quit because he's 22 and is 6'6". He has probably been beating kids up since he was 10. He has probably never been. No, people get used to being in uncomfortable situations, painful situations. Daniel will never have lived through that in his entire life. He will never have been in that much pain and that uncomfortable and thinking, Christ. And as you say, it's kind of fight or flight. He would have just been, his body would have been like, how do I react to this? I don't understand what's going on. Whereas Billy-Joe probably has been through tougher fights, painful, even, the end of the Eubank fight when he was very tired and he was taking shots. He's probably been hurt more and more uncomfortable than Daniel has in his entire life. And the other person I would bring up as well is, and it wasn't as bad an injury, but it kind of makes me think back to Ebony Bridges. I'm not saying she had a broken orbital bone, but big ups to her. She did have a pretty bad eye injury. She couldn't see out and she did carry on. So just wanted to kind of bring that up and just say, congrats to her, because whatever we might have thought of the level of the fight or this, that, and the other, at the end of the day, she didn't quit. She stuck it out, and we know she couldn't see because she was like that for 10 more days after the fight. So yeah, Quitty Joe Saunders, that's all I can call him.
Can I just finish this segment on what do you think Billy-Joe Saunders thinks last night and tonight? Deep down, what's in his soul? What's in his mindset? What's his belief? Yeah. He knows he quit.
He's gonna
it's the
lie
right
to
thing
himself.
to do, etc., etc. Yeah, but everyone likes to think that they would in that moment there. And if you've ever been in a ring, there's that moment where it's do you get up and push and just keep going? Yeah, and everyone likes to think they've got that, but until you're there and it's a DNA thing. It just kind of goes. You just go no. It's just easy to go no, and he said no, and that's a quit. It doesn't matter about all the other stuff. All the other stuff saying just in that moment when it was hard, was he willing to push back? And he wasn't. He was found wanting. Certain people, very, very rare, have that thing where they just go, yeah, like Michael Watson, like those people who get involved in devastating stuff in the sport, and those that are not quitters. And Billy-Joe Saunders is great, he's brave, etc. He's not that. Do you know what I mean? And that's what we're talking about when it comes to quitter. We're talking about an elite level here, and he said he had it, and he doesn't have it, and that's the point. That is, I think.
No, I was going to say there, bro. I guess now Canelo has seen off 7 British opponents of his career and now holds 3 out of the 4 titles at super middleweight. Abbas, I know you were going to discuss that beef between Chris Eubank Jr. and Billy-Joe Saunders. Like I say, this is now 7 British fighters that have lost to Canelo. I don't want to ask this, but do you feel someone like Eubank has any chance of even causing danger to Canelo?
So it's the same way I'm going to speak on Boo Boo Andre. You coming to a press conference and Canelo, I think this is the best bit that I loved about that before I talk about Chris Eubank, is the fact that he insulted him in English. He does all his media not speaking a word of English. But
get the fuck out of here, man. Get the fuck out of here.
Yes.
Get the fuck out of here, man.
You are and there's nothing that Chris and Canelo will get. Same with Chris Eubank Jr. Why are you calling him out? Like the 2 leveraged big fights that I can remember, Chris Eubank Jr., you failed in both. You lost a split decision, like Andy mentioned, to Billy-Joe Saunders. You then lose to George Groves as well. So for me, you put little to no value to Canelo Alvarez. If anything, you put your £10,000 on a bet on Billy-Joe Saunders to lose. Let's put that money to the test and have him another fight. That's the fight for me. If you want to speak to put ahead with Canelo, is Caleb Plant and nothing else. Because you unify that division, it's very unlikely you will go down to become a middleweight, or possibly you could do. Hard for you to go back to light heavyweight because you weren't comfortable. That's the only fight I see, and this is the problem with Canelo Alvarez. There's a small pool of people that can actually really give him competitive fights. The rest is a payday for everybody else and nothing for him. That's the sad bit about Canelo Alvarez right now.
Abbas, let's be clear here. We're on the same page about Chris Eubank having absolutely no chance against Canelo. But let's throw some respect on his name. Have you ever heard of the Olympics?
I'm not respecting Chris Eubank.
You didn't
Yeah.
answer the question.
Are you going to bring up the Gale? Are you going to bring up the Gale?
I am going to bring up James Chunky the Gale, the first
That is
British fighter ever
shameless.
to win
What,
an
bro?
Olympic
Injured over the hill of the Gale. Go watch the fight, man. The Gale's legs were bro. Like, he had nothing. You beat a shell of a man, bro. You can't claim
Answer the
that,
question. Who was the first British boxer to win an Olympic gold medal and then win a legitimate world title?
Yeah, the Gale. Those are his accolades. What about Eubank?
Yeah.
He beat him and he beat Artur Abraham. Are we also going to say that Artur Abraham is an absolute nobody?
It's not that they're nobody, but they're not Canelo.
I didn't say that, but Abbas is going on like he said. His words were he hasn't beaten anyone. I didn't say whether James DeGale was fit past his prime. I purely am asking: was James DeGale a world champion and Olympic gold medalist? Yes or no? Was Artur Abraham a world champion at any point? Yes or no?
Leverage.
All right.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah. No, like he's had a decent career. Like, you know, he's beat some former champions. He's been out of the ring. He's been out of the ring 2 years. And like he's lost the big fights that he's been in, and he's been winning and losing at the kind of level below Canelo. He's been out of the ring 2 years. You just had, you know, a bit of a lackluster performance against Marcus Morrison. The most exciting thing you've done recently is put a 10 grand bet on Billy-Joe Saunders to get knocked out.
Exactly.
Do something in the ring, bro. You know what I mean?
We are burying fighters today.
No, but that's what I'm saying. The high leverage moments when you've looked at Chris Eubanks Jr., you're like, okay, great. You take this victory and you push forward. He's failed. And that's done that hold on Chris Eubanks. Like right now, you are better as an Instagram star than you are really as a boxer. This is why I will always respect someone like Conor Benn. When you see his press conferences and his post-match interviews, he's like, it's harder for me to do this than somebody else because I have all the luxuries. I'm not seeing the same with Chris Eubanks Jr. as I previously did. When you're calling out Canelo and you know that it's a fight that's not going to happen, you just want a payday to get a new Lamborghini.
I'll put this to you, Ashanti. Yeah, our top five is when someone loses, is Canelo putting out IG things of him like rolling on the floor laughing? You're doing that because you're below the guy. Yeah? You're like, you know, what is it? Winners focus on winning, losers focus on losers in this case. You know what I mean? Like,
every fighter has been no Canelo, so no fighter could call out Canelo because he is the only Canelo. He's the pound for pound number one. So that means that no one should call him out. He should only fight mandatories or unify because by that adage, no one should call him out. We would then have no good fights. Like Eubank has his father's name, as you just said about Conor Benn. You really think Conor Benn is the best welterweight in this country? He's not.
He's a lot more impressive than Eubank though of late.
After Eubanks,
for real.
Who has been a world champion. Like he may have lost since, but at the time he was a pretty high level fighter. Who has Conor Benn beaten? He lost to Cedric Peno. Let's all remember.
But I'm talking about recent. This is a.
Sorry. Yeah, no. Then you're right because you know Conor Benn isn't being used to sell Sky Sports Saturday fight nights. You can't compare Conor Benn to Chris Eubank Jr. because they're at different stages in their career. Chris Eubank Jr. is a legitimate world level contender. Where you think he is, fine, that's up for a debate. Conor Benn is on his way up, so he can be used to, you know, fill cards and be at the top of cards on a Saturday fight night. But Chris Eubank has been close to the top of the sport. So
who's more deserving, Andrade or Eubank? Because for me, on a quick one on Andrade, that has to be one of the worst conference crashes I've ever seen. And I bet you any money, Eddie Hearn probably told him, listen, when we're having a press conference, I'm going to let security let you through. And there's your chance. And I remember the trash talk was so terrible. Even Eddie Hearn was just like, yo, get out of here. even Eddie Hearn was just like, I gave you this one shot.
And one job
to impress me. Yeah, you had one job. And the funniest thing was, it wasn't just like Canelo's broken English. It was the fact that when Andrade said back to Canelo, who have you fought? And then Canelo Canelo didn't even answer it. He just started laughing, saying, who have I fought? And I'm just like, Andrade.
You fought nobody. Get out of here. Shut up.
Oh, Andrade, I was just like, that was your one chance and you blew it. Oh,
mate, it was as bad as who the fuck is that guy? It was literally like, it was that level, man. It was like, oh man, what are you doing, man? You're killing it, man.
Yeah, Andrade just better focus on getting that fight with Charlo or Eubank because there's no way that Canelo fight is going to be in the sweepstake for him. Even Charlo at this point has a higher percentage of getting the Canelo fight rather than rather than anyone else after the Caleb Plant sweepstake, which is it's kind of disrespectful how we just see Caleb Plant and think Canelo's going to take his belt, but Canelo's going to take your belt. I'm so sorry, Caleb, that you had to hear that.
Sorry, but not sorry. Big Nige, look, let me ask you, who do you feel poses the biggest threat to Canelo right now in world boxing? I've seen a few interviews on YouTube this week, read a few blogs. I guess barring the weight, if you're looking at skill set, many will say someone like Terence Crawford, but of course he's too small. But I mean, who do you feel is a realistic threat to Canelo?
Realistically, no one. But if I had to pick, I would say at light heavyweight, Artur Beterbiev. He's got the power to probably cause him some problems. He's also got a very good extensive amateur background. And in super middleweight, maybe David Benavidez, if he can get his arse in shape, because he's got the hand speed, he's also got the size, and I think he's a decent boxer as well. But again, this is Canelo we're talking about here, man. He's an OG still.
Absolutely. So guys, listening, who do you think can beat Canelo, or is he simply unbeatable at this stage of his career? Make sure you like, share, and subscribe on all the socials. We'll make sure to give you all the links after this video is recorded. Ashanti, just reacting to what Nigel said. I mean, who do you feel can beat the man Canelo?
Turbiev is the man. I think I mentioned this before. He's the one to beat him at 175. He's got the size, he's got the power, and I think he's one of the only people that can make Canelo in any way respect his power. And you've got to make Canelo respect your power, because you can be the slickest boxer in the world, as we've just seen from Billy-Joe. Or you can be 6'4" like Callum Smith. Doesn't matter. He's going to slip inside, use his feet, and then work you to the body and just mully you. The other guys that I'll say controversially, at 154, I could see, I believe it's Jamel Charlo, and I can see Errol Spence, if he were to go up to 154, giving him a good fight. And let me add the caveat again of, I don't think they're as good as Canelo, but I do believe that Canelo losing a stone from 168 to come down to 154 might even up the playing field a little bit to give them a chance. I'm not trying to say Errol will beat him, but Errol being comfortable at 154, he's a huge 147, being comfortable with those extra 7 pounds, Canelo coming down the extra 14 for that one fight, I think could level it. And, you know, again, Errol, beautiful boxer, great southpaw. It'd be a fun fight, and I'd like to see it. I think it'd be really fun in the lead up to that fight. So, but 60-68, Canelo could just sit there for the rest of his career, and he's just battering people for fun.
I think previously said it as well, though. Like, I'm kind of with Ashanti. At 168, nobody's going to be able to beat him, because when he's that comfortable at his weight, personally can't see any sort of him dropping down weight or even moving up. I mean, he won his fight at light heavyweight and then just vacated the title because he didn't feel comfortable. That's the only problem with where Canelo is right now, is he's gotten through everything. I know there's people that will say, oh, can we get another fight with Triple G? It's not worth it. It's no risk and a medium-ish reward with Canelo Alvarez to take a fight with Triple G, because he's already beaten him. That's the only problem. And I think if in terms of anybody who could take a punch from him, it would probably be him. But unfortunately, it's another fight that's going to be too hard to make, I reckon.
It's a shame as well. Like, he's in a position where...
I think... Also, go on.
Like, just a quick one. I probably won't stay up and watch many of his fights because he's just too good. So it's a shame. Like, you know what I mean? He's too good for his division. Like, just like the Billy-Joe one interested me. I'm not watching I'll catch highlights of him against Plant and Charlo and them lot, because I know he's going to win. So.
God damn, we are just burying guys. I think, do you know what might be interesting? He might go down the route of Mayweather. I think, how old Beterbiev is what, mid-30s, possibly late 30s? Canelo might wait for Beterbiev to clear that division, wait for him to get a bit older, and take the fight then. Can you call it a bit nasty? Yes, but that is how the game goes sometimes. And do you know what? In a sport where inches wins you fights, that inch of having that age play on Beterbiev, maybe betting on Beterbiev's going through some wars, maybe with the Bibbles and Joe Smiths of the world, Beterbiev might end up with all the belts at the end, and then Canelo might just be there. Oh, well, I know, it's nice to see that you've gone through all these wars. Do you wanna fight now? And then that payday might be so big that Beterbiev is just gonna be like, and be too brave for his own good. He's just like, come, let's do this big fight. And then Canelo might just be fresh and just be like, cool, I'm fresh. Beterbiev's all beat up. Let's go for the unify, the light heavyweight division, and Canelo gets it. So that might be Canelo in about 2-3 years, give or take. So just remember, if that happens, come back to this episode and give me my flowers.
That would be a huge fight, man. Imagine that fight. That would be, if he, and like just going into that fight, that would be eye-watering. And it like all unified, like you say, someone's got all the belts, it's just all the marbles.
Yeah.
That would be outrageous. Yeah. Fucking hell. If he done that, Jesus.
He's 36 now. Like, it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Oh, he's 36 now. Oh, yeah. Listen, that might be on the agenda. Wait,
it could happen.
Clear out his division, beat a Charlo maybe.
So I know that this is going to sound a bit crazy. So are we not saying he is directly, but can we call him a modern day Floyd Mayweather in this sense? Floyd couldn't really be beat when you put him in a fight. You thought there's a chance, but really in the back of your head, if you had money, you'd bet on Floyd. Can we similarly say Canelo is a bit like that, where realistically that we've just talked about it, there's nobody who can actually beat him? Are we looking at a similar pathway like that?
Yeah, I don't think that's far-fetched to say.
Do you remember at the end of Floyd's career, and like every 24/7 was the same thing? Him going through McDonald's drive-thru at 2 a.m. and he's like, he ain't training. It's like this guy's gonna whoop his ass. It was jokes, and it's like
that's a great point, and it's true. I mean, I had a look earlier of the list of people that he's beaten, and he's 30. Billy-Joe, Callum Smith, Kovalev, Jacobs, Triple G, Liam Smith, Austin Trout, Erislandy Lara, Shane Mosley, and Carlos Baldemir. I mean, for a 30-year-old, similar to Mayweather, you look at Mayweather's record, say what you want about it, he might have missed a few people, but they are both just like the top 20% of like 3 or 4 divisions. And like Mayweather at 40, 47, let's say, the only difference is, Canelo doesn't get beaten at 60, 68. It's only, does he go up too much or come down too low? They're the only ways he gets beaten. Because honestly, next 5 years, who beats him at 60? Like, honestly, who is it?
He is not going back down to 154. If Errol Spence was a bigger name, then maybe. But I think them PBC boys, as much as I'm an Al Heyman guy, their names don't ring bells like that. So get used to him at 168. And whoever wants to move up to 168 to get their butt whooped, that's going to be Andrade. So, hey.
Yeah, I'm getting too old for this, guys. I mean, staying up till 5:30. I was a broken man yesterday. Was in bed at like 8, 9 o'clock. But what an event. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, I haven't had the luck of going, but I'm a big NFL fan, and I know it's one of the most expensive and best stadiums in the world. I believe that it's got like the biggest indoor screens in the world, and you can see them from everywhere in the stadium. And to see an indoor crowd that size in Texas, full of Mexicans, full of Mexican Americans, with a mariachi band and all of that kind of stuff. Mariachi band was unbelievable. Like, one thing you can give Eddie Hearn is he really knows how to put an event on, and you can see that him and Canelo's relationship is developing because he's doing what he said he was going to do. He's showing him off to the world, and he's taking him to the biggest stadium in the world, like 73,000 people, I believe it was, in Texas. I mean, that is absolutely outstanding, and it was a brilliant event. Frank Sanchez on the undercard, bit of a weird ending, but it was amazing to just see 5,000 people at the weigh-in as well. Such passionate Mexicans across Cinco de Mayo weekend as well. You can imagine a lot of Tecate and Corona was drunk that weekend. So it was absolutely amazing, and just can't wait for the next one. I think it'll be in September, won't it? Which is Mexican Independence. I can't wait for that.
That's a good point you make. And you look at the numbers, you look at the gate receipts and the attendance. I'm pretty sure 3 out of the last 4 record high attendance has all been in Eddie Hearn promotion.
Listen, earn with Hearn.
Exactly, earn with Hearn. Go on, Abbas.
I was just going to say, it's literally that thing that we touched on before when we mentioned about like how Eddie Hearn just does production better than any other promoter. And if you are a fighter who wants to get your name out there or try to get there as quick as possible, you want to side with Eddie Hearn, and you want to be on these undercards because even on an undercard, somehow, somewhere, you will have a level of promotion you wouldn't get with somebody else. And just to echo on Ashanti's point, Dallas Cowboys Stadium, like with him, I'm an NFL fan. And I know Jerry Jones, the guy that owns the Dallas Cowboys, he does extravagance like nobody else. So it's just like a match made in heaven. And then as with COVID and stuff, as a production, post-COVID, we're in a post-COVID type of way. It's just perfect. And it's just exciting to see where Eddie Hearn takes this going forward with Canelo, because you've got the biggest star in boxing, and then you take it here with us guys, with the biggest heavyweight fight, and what he's going to possibly do about that as well.
I like that idea. I mean, I guess one day we may see Canelo come to the UK, perhaps at Wembley Stadium, or even like Tottenham Stadium, massive venue that is purpose built for mega events. And I guess on the flip side, potentially Joshua, okay, he's fought in America before in New York, but he's yet to kind of crack America.
Andrew, Canelo's a winner. I don't see him going to Tottenham Hotspur. I don't.
I was going to say the Bridge, but too small, mate.
Oh.
Fair.
I mean,
fair,
you can come OT, but the fans might protest. So.
Yeah, in Wembley Stadium, he probably doesn't want that. But yeah, Abbas is right. It's one thing I'll give Eddie Hearn is he understands that to spend money, you've got to spend money to make money, and he does really put his money into it, knowing that if he creates the right output and content, that people will buy it and come to his fights in droves. And yeah, I mean, just can't wait for that AJ announcement. It is just. This summer for Brits, we've got the Euros, the Lions Tour, the Olympics, hopefully, and knowing that big fight is just round the corner is just, it fills me with joy.
And just on a point with the summer, we also have Love Island coming back, so I don't know how many other people are excited.
Well, I think we might see, we saw a few years ago, Tommy Fury emerge from Love Island, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see, is it Harley Ben, maybe? The brother of Connor.
You're right, yeah. I think he's meant to be on Love Island as well. So it's an emerging place for boxers as well.
Oh, goodness.
Who would have thought
YouTube detractors ain't going to be happy about hearing this.
I know. It's crazy. Who would have thought it? You go back 10, 12 years ago, go in a prize fight to kind of get your name out there. Now, all you've got to do is be a YouTuber or go on Love Island.
Oh, man. Big paydays as a YouTuber.
But guys, look, let's stick with the Fury name. Let me ask you, how much of a psychological factor would this defeat for Billy-Joe Saunders have on Tyson Fury? Seeing, his fellow gypsy mate lose for the first time.
0%. Between 0 and 0.5%. Like, absolutely none. Tyson Fury, I believe, has an indomitable spirit. And as he always says, no man born of his mother can beat him, and I truly believe he believes that in his heart. And can I just end this on a bit of a rant? One of the things I most hate about boxing are boxers telling you that God is on their side and that there is no way they can be beaten and it is just destined for them to win. And then they lose, and on Monday they do an interview, and I'm meant to completely forget about the week or month of them just going, oh no, God's with me. There's no way I can lose. It's just predestined. And then they get wiped out. And I'm just meant to sit back and go, oh yeah, was it not your night, mate? Oh, that's fine. It wasn't like you built up much. You didn't say much about it beforehand. I'm sorry. It's not even Billy-Joe. I find it embarrassing when all boxers do that. Say you think you're going to win. You've worked really hard. You've eaten the right food and yourself. I am completely fine with that. Do not tell me that God is on your side. What, was he not on your side Saturday? How am I meant to believe you for your next fight? I don't ever want to hear you again. God's on my side, and then what, next fight I'm meant to just be back on the train and be like, oh yeah, he's definitely going to win that, because what happened the last time? What was God missing that night? Was it like Santa Claus? Did he not come down? I'm sorry. No, did no one watch the interviews? I watched all of the interviews.
I hear you.
Said that there was gypsy spirit in like the air or something. I love his dad. His dad came across so well during the week. Very honest, humble man. But he said, yeah, I can feel the spirit of the gypsies. There's something going on. Well, what did go on? Because I just saw Billy-Joe lose an eye. That's all I saw. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that was the spirit of the gypsies for him to lose. But I thought previously it was about him winning. But if someone can tell me, then I'm more than happy to hear what you've got to say.
Wow. Well, I guess on this note, Ashanti, I think it's only right that you turn the other cheek.
We don't turn the other cheek. You punch back. And my goodness, Billy-Joe has caught a lot of heat today, but if you're gonna give it, you gotta take it. So he knows that more than anyone.
Absolutely.
I think one thing I'll just quickly say, if I can do with Tyson Fury, if you look at Tyson Fury's persona, he puts it out there in some ways. Like, look, if I'm going to lose, it's a boxing fight. The other man beat me. There is that little bit of him to say, okay, I tried, I lost, I get on with my life. So in some ways, he tries to neglect or deflect, the idea of defeat before getting into the ring anyway, whereas others would be like, I can't lose, I can't do this because it ruins my life. He plays the deflection before the actual fight.
Listen, more credit to him. I still think Joshua's going to beat him, but everyone's got their way of how they handle the mental pressures, and you got to respect someone that faces it head on and knows how to handle it, rather than, just like Ashanti was saying, people that keep on saying statements that you could even look at them and be like, do you even believe what you're saying? So that's the next big fight on the calendar. Looking forward to that as always. So we'll see. Hopefully we don't have to stay up until crazy o'clock in the morning to watch it. So Eddie Hearn, he said he had some good news for us post Canelo fight. So let's hope that Eddie keeps his word and we get a good announcement by the end of the week.
Thank you very much for joining us on today's special fight night review, as Billy-Joe Saunders suffers defeat for the very first time at the hands of Canelo, the current pound-for-pound king. You're listening to the Weigh In Podcast. Make sure you share, like, and subscribe, and follow us on all the socials. Stay weighed in. Peace.